Today, we're going to be continuing to work on the trailer. It's coming along nicely. I want to show you guys what I've been up to. On the last episode, I put the top section on all of the legs here. It fits great. I mean, the thing is actually so sturdy. But now, we need to figure out how am I going to build a door here. I've got a couple of ideas. I ordered some steel to do it. I'm just going to use 1-inch steel, and we're going to create an outline all the way around here. And that should get us pretty well started. I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do for hinges, and also to account for the 1/4-inch gap between the bar and the corner posts. And so I think what I'm going to do is try to fit a hinge inside this gap here that there will be, but I haven't figured everything out yet. So we're kind of going along and figuring it out as we go. On today's episode, we're going to be building doors, and we're going to be putting the sheathing all the way around it. I've got a couple things to fine tune. I also have yet more holes to drill. I've been drilling so many holes, but they never seem to end. I also need to drill all the holes right here to attach the top frame to these legs. We're going to start drilling all the holes, get the bolts in there, just get everything the way it needs to be, so that way when we go to build the doors and put the sheathing on, we're ready to go as soon as those parts get here. So let's get to it. I just got all the holes drilled in for the legs. It's looking good. We got the bolts in. We're kind of done drilling holes for a second, which is really nice because I feel like that's all I've been doing the past couple weeks. I did break a bit, kind of surprising. I just seared it right off, just from the torque of the drill, I guess, but oh well. They were actually pretty cheap. I did buy some expensive Milwaukee bits, and the very first hole I tried to drill with it, the whole tip of the bit, it was a carbide bit, and it just shredded the whole bit. So these are actually cheap DeWalt. They're like $8. Those ones have been the ones I've been rolling with, and they seem to work fine. So maybe more expensive doesn't necessarily mean better. So anyways, what we're gonna do is we're now going to coat this side of the trailer. This side does not have the door, and so we're gonna coat and put the sheathing on the outside here. Probably do the front side today as well as this. I've just been taking some measurements. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna hoist this stuff up onto the sawhorses, and we're gonna go ahead and cut it. Man, wrestling that thing up onto the sawhorses was a pain. Doing it by myself is just not the best way to do it, let me tell you. But it worked, it's sturdy, it's on there. Let's get cutting. We got one side done, and this is what it looks like. It's not too bad. I think it's coming along. It's not quite finished. However, I do have it just clamped in place over there, and then it's just resting on the rails down here. So obviously it's not actually secured, but as far as the cut goes, it fits perfect, which is great. So this side will be completely enclosed. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut. We've got the next sheet up ready to go, and we're gonna cut out this opening here. This again will be the door. This side again will be the door. And then should be a pretty easy cut, and we'll just do this section here. Today has been a very successful day. It's been honestly, it's really cool to see the progress that we've been making. I just got everything pretty well cut out. We still have the doors to do as well as the top up here, but it's turning out. Look at that. I mean, obviously it's not perfect. It's not even secured on yet. We got this front piece already taken care of. It fits pretty good. There is a slight overage here. This front sheet here is 48.5 inch. And so there's about a 1/2 inch gap here. That one I'll be cutting off. And it should fit really snug, which is great. One of the things that I'm excited about as well, and it should be pretty easy, is that I already have bolts in here that once I take those out, I'll be able to rest this all the way up against, and then I'll be able to drill holes straight through here and just plug the bolt straight through. I obviously I'm going to use a glue sealer to make sure that it's stuck to the trailer. It's obviously not going to go anywhere, but the bolts are just kind of added security, added protection, which is kind of good for at least my peace of mind, right? So that's kind of the next step here. It's getting dark. Tomorrow we should be able to finish up taking off the existing bolts, putting on the sheathing all the way, drilling holes and securing it. This might be the last time I have to take off those bolts, to be honest, so that'd be cool. After I take off the bolts, then we'll be able to secure the sheathing on the side. It's great. It's coming along. I'm getting excited. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, guys, it's another beautiful day. We're still working on the trailer. Let me show you what I've been working on. I started off working on these end caps. I wanted to cover up kind of these bolts, and I wanted to make a trim piece that will kind of make this seam here look a little better. As you can see here, we also have a gap, so I wanted to cover that up. So what we're doing, I just picked up this metal brake from Harbor Freight, and I made the first trim piece for this corner. I think it looks pretty good. And it wraps all the way around on the inside too, so it'll kind of be a nice finished entryway for us to pull all of our stuff in and out, which is pretty great. So what we're going to be doing, I'm going to show you how I did that. We got to do this side, as well as this top piece here, and then I'm going to take this big sheet and also bend it in around this post here. So that's what we're working on today. Let's get after it. So we start off with a piece of 7-inch steel. This is just a scrap piece from cutting off all the other siding that we did yesterday. And so what we're going to do is we're going to break it up into 2.5-inch chunks. It's not a huge deal, kind of how these edges, how much width there is, but the middle section is the most important part. That has to be 2.5 inches. So we're going to make a couple lines here. I'm going to take the grinder and cut kind of indents in the metal all the way up and down, kind of make some creases, and then we'll go ahead and fold it all up. I've got the metal here all set up. It is really hard to pull back on these two levers here, just because this is about the max thickness that this little brake can do. And so it's pretty, I'm not gonna lie, it's not the easiest thing ever, but it worked for the first one, so hopefully it just keeps on chugging away as we go along. We're going to measure out 2.5 inches from this crease point to here. After that, we'll do a line. We'll do all the same thing again, and then we'll cut just little indents to where it'll nest around our frame beams. Alrighty, the moment of truth. Let's see how it goes. Look at that. Perfect fit. They both look awesome, and it'll be a nice entryway. And then we'll just be able to mount our door, our hinges, and we should be good to go. I came out last night and did a couple of things. Let me show you what I did. I got this whole side mounted up. I decided to leave these L brackets on the outside. Don't tell anybody, but I accidentally drilled a hole in the wrong spot. It was like way down here instead of up here. And so I'm gonna use the bracket to kind of cover up my mistake. Don't worry, it won't happen again. Now we're gonna move on to the front side up here. We're gonna go across the front and we'll do that back piece right over there today. After that, we're gonna get started working on the doors. It's really coming together. To start, we're gonna remove all of the bolts that are facing this direction. And so I'm gonna remove all 4 of these. I already took out the top ones up here on each corner. This one doesn't have any because we had to rotate this post. After that, I already have the sheet cut out for this section. And so we'll just mount it up, drill a couple more holes. got it all clamped up, ready to go. Let's get to drilling some holes. Just got the front done. It's looking fantastic. Check this out. It's really coming together. I just can't even believe it. We've got just this other side here, and then it's on to build the doors. After securing that sheathing to the right side of the frame, it was time to make the door frame rails. Once the rails were cut, I wanted to make sure that there's no sharp edges on each of the corners that could easily snag on anything. Cutting each of these sections was really easy. I just measured the opening in the door frame itself and then fit each bar and piece to the correct specifications. After that, it was time to cut out some connectors and brackets. I'm just using the angle grinder to cut out these corners to make sure everything's exactly 90 degrees. I used a cardboard template as my guide, and they turned out really nicely. After making sure each corner bracket was the right size, we needed to drill some holes to make sure our 1/4" bolts would fit right through. I already got the majority of my pieces cut out. These should be the exact size that we need width-wise, and then these are the exact same height. And so we're just going to cut this piece out. It's just a little bit long on this side here, and so we're just going to cut that right off, and then we'll have a nice backing for this whole door to go on. I just cut out the sheathing here, and I checked it against the trailer. It actually fits pretty good. It's definitely not square, but I think that's also kind of an issue with my trim pieces more than anything else. However, the door will fit, and we can solve a lot of the not squareness with different weather strippings and so on that we're going to use to seal this whole thing together. So what we're going to do is lay this out. I'm going to use the brackets as kind of my guides. I'm going to drill some holes all the way through. We'll kind of bolt it up. We're not going to tighten down anything. We're going to keep it pretty loose, and then we'll test fit the whole door in the actual area, make sure that everything's going to fit and swing properly. We had about a 1/2 inch gap all the way around, which is what I wanted. And so now we're just gonna keep drilling some more holes. This has been like the never-ending saga of drilling holes, and so I'm gonna be really excited once we're done with these doors, because then I'll be pretty much done with drilling holes. But we're just using 1/4" bolts, so 1/4" hole, it's a lot easier to drill through. So let's lay it all out and get it drilled up. The brackets went on perfect, actually. For being handmade brackets, they all fit pretty snug. It's a fairly good fit. I think this door is really coming together. I decided to add a little bit of liquid nails all the way through, really just in the middle spots of the doors, just so there wasn't like a big gap in between the frame and the actual sheathing on the outside. So we're gonna let that sit and dry up for a little bit. We just got everything sitting like so. Got a couple clamps on there. It's looking nice. We'll clean up it is dripping just a little bit on the edges here. So we'll clean that up here in a second, but I think this will really help. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to figure out where our hinges are gonna go for one, and drill holes in the hinges. So I got these hinges from Granger. They're just steel, they're steel hinges. They're sealed, heavyweight, heavy duty bearing hinges, and so we are gonna not mount them on the trailer just yet, but they are blanks, as you can see, and so we do need to drill some holes in here. We're gonna do half of it will have the 3/8 hole, just because I have the bolts for it, and then the other half will be 1/4", which will actually go on the door themselves. That way we make sure all the thicknesses are correct and all that. It'll be a lot simpler. So we're gonna figure out where they need to go, and we're gonna start drilling some holes. All right, we mocked up where the holes are gonna go on each side. I kind of held the door up. I unfortunately wasn't able to film it. There's kind of a lot of stuff that you gotta balance when hanging a door. But I kind of mocked up where the brackets each need to, or where the hinges each need to be. Drilled some holes in the brackets. They're looking all right. And so now we're gonna drill a hole in the door and in the frame, and we'll see if it mounts up properly. All right, everybody, it took me a second to get this whole thing figured out and straightened and all that kind of stuff. Hanging a door is not the easiest thing ever. This might be actually one of the more challenging things I've done on the trailer so far, but we got it on. It's not tight yet, and so I can't test it just yet. I've got this clamp here holding it kind of up and level exactly how I want it so it doesn't rub on anything. These bolts aren't quite in just yet, so we're gonna tighten these up and we'll check it out. All right, moment of truth. Let's see how well this works. Aha! Would you look at that? Ladies and gentlemen, we have a door. Ta-da! Pretty great, and it doesn't close on its own, which is nice. Pretty sturdy all the way around. You can like even lean on it. Like if you're standing, you can like, yeah, it's just good. You lift up, pick up the whole trailer off this thing. I think it's looking great. Let's do the other side and then we'll kind of trim everything up and get it all nice all the way around. I've already got everything pretty well done. Really all we need to do is just kind of see how our tolerances are on the whole door. Like for instance, it's really hitting here in this corner. In this corner, as you can see, we've got it just is barely hitting on the side, just at the top up there. So we're gonna do something to trim that up. And then over here, it's looking pretty decent. There is obviously a gap down at the bottom, pretty big gap at the top, but I've got a couple of ideas on how to avoid that. So really we just need to figure out this corner here, and I think that'll solve a lot of our other fitment problems. A lot of building doors is just like trial and error, see if this works, see if this didn't. I think we're gonna grind down a little bit on the door itself. Just kind of grind this corner just a little bit. And then we'll also probably take the grinder and kind of trim on the inside, just make it sit a little bit more flush there. For right now, we're gonna map out where our hinges are gonna go, top and bottom, and then we've got some holes to drill. More holes, I can't even believe it. I did have a little bit of trouble putting in these side bolts right here, but for the most part everything went on pretty great. So what we're going to do is we are going to snug up everything and we'll see how it opens and how it closes. So far so good. It's pretty loose, which is nice, but it opens good. All right, let's snug up some of these bolts. Hey, it opens and it stays open, so that's good news. And it opens really wide, which is really nice. That'll be easy to get coolers in and out of. And then it closes up pretty much right where we want it to be. I know that you can see daylight straight through. I kind of built these a little bit small on purpose, because what we will be doing is putting some weather stripping either in between here, or I haven't quite figured out exactly how it'll be. There might be like a little lip right here where we'll put some, like an angle iron piece and some weather stripping on the back and kind of snug everything up, seal it up. But so far so good. I'm really excited about how this turned out. It's really coming together. Take a look at this, guys. I really just can't even believe it that we've kind of gotten to this point. I really thought that we'd have to weld something or do whatever. But so far, the handmade, homemade, super budget build trailer's going pretty well. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Feel free to drop a comment down below on what you're working on, and if you have any tips or tricks on making this thing even better. On the next episode, we're going to be sealing everything up, adding a little bit more trim pieces, and making sure all of the doors are sealed and there's no gaps. We're really making some good progress on here. As always, thanks for watching.